The master bought a slave woman to care for his daughter. What she did that night shocked everyone. In the sweltering heat of a Georgia summer in 1852, the air hung heavy with the scent of tobacco smoke and desperation. The auction block in Savannah was a grim stage where lives were bartered like sacks of cotton. Elias Hargrove, a wealthy plantation owner with a reputation for fairness, at least as fair as a man in his position could be, stood at the edge of the crowd, his brow furrowed under the brim of his wide hat. He wasn't here for field hands or laborers this time. No, Elias had a more personal need. His daughter, little Amelia, just turned 8, had been wasting away for months. The doctors called it a mysterious ailment, something that sapped her strength and left her bedridden, her once bright eyes dulled by fever and pain. His wife had passed years ago in childbirth, and the household staff, though loyal, couldn't provide the tender care Amelia needed. He sought a nursemaid, someone gentle, perhaps with knowledge of herbs or remedies from the old ways. The auctioneer, a wiry man with a voice like gravel, banged his gavel to silence the murmurs. Next lot. A fine specimen, folks. Name's Lila, aged about 25. Strong, healthy, from the Carolinas. Skilled in housework, child rearing, and they say she's got away with the sick. Bidding starts at 200. Elias watched as the woman was led onto the platform. She was tall, with skin like polished mahogany, her hair tied back in a simple cloth. Her eyes, dark and unyielding, scanned the crowd without fear, or at least, that's how it seemed. There was a quiet dignity about her, a straightness to her spine that set her apart from the others who'd been paraded before. Whispers rippled through the bidders. Heard she was a runaway once caught and sold south. Nah, she's got that look, like she knows more than she lets on. Elias felt a pull, an instinct he couldn't explain. He raised his hand, outbidding a couple of rough-looking farmers until the gavel fell at $450. Sold! The ride back to Hargrove Plantation was silent, save for the creak of the wagon wheels on the dusty road. Lila sat in the back, chained lightly at the ankles as was custom, her gaze fixed on the passing fields of swaying cotton. Elias glanced back occasionally, trying to gauge her. "You'll be tending to my daughter, Amelia," he said finally, his voice gruff but not unkind. "She's poorly, needs someone with a soft hand. You do right by her, and you'll have a place here. Food, shelter, no whippings unless you give cause." Layla nodded once, her voice steady when she spoke. "I'll care for the child, Master Hargrove. That's what you bought me for." There was no bitterness in her tone, just a matter-of-fact acceptance that made Elias uneasy. He'd owned slaves all his life, inherited the plantation from his father, but something about this woman felt different, like she was playing a role, biding her time. As they approached the big house, a grand white structure with columns that gleamed in the afternoon sun, the slaves in the fields paused to watch. Whispers spread like wildfire. "Master Dunn bought another one. She looks fierce, wonder how long she'll last." Elias's overseer, a burly man named Thorne, met them at the gate. "New girl, sir. Want me to show her the ropes?" "No," Elias replied curtly. "She's for the house. Take her to the quarters, get her cleaned up. She starts tonight with Amelia." Layla was led to a small cabin behind the main house, one reserved for house slaves. It was sparse, a cot, a basin, a single window with bars disguised as shutters. She washed the grime of the auction from her skin, changed into a simple dress provided by the cook, an older woman named Bessie. "Child, you best keep your head down," Bessie warned, her eyes kind but wary. "Master's fair, but Miss Amelia, she's fragile. And that overseer Thorne, he's got a mean streak." Layla smiled faintly. "I've seen mean before. I'll manage." By evening, the sun dipped low, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. Elias summoned Layla to the house. The interior was opulent, with polished wood floors, crystal chandeliers, and portraits of stern ancestors lining the walls. He led her upstairs to Amelia's room, a airy space filled with lace curtains and toys gathering dust. The girl lay in a four-poster bed, her small frame swallowed by blankets. Her skin was pale, almost translucent, and her breathing came in shallow rasps. A feverish flush colored her cheeks. "This is Lila," Elias said softly, his voice cracking just a bit. "She'll be looking after you now, darling." Amelia's eyes fluttered open, curious but weak. "Hello," she whispered. "Are you my new mama?" Layla knelt by the bed, her expression softening. "Not your mama, little one, but I'll care for you like one." She placed a cool hand on the girl's forehead, feeling the heat radiate. Elias watched, noting the gentleness in her touch. "See to her needs," he instructed. "Bathe her, feed her the broth Bessie makes, and if she worsens, fetch me immediately." As night fell, the house grew quiet. Crickets chirped outside, and the distant call of an owl echoed through the trees. Layla sat by Amelia's bedside, humming a soft melody she'd learned from her own mother long ago, a lullaby from the African shores, passed down through generations. The girl stirred, smiling faintly. "That's pretty. Sing it again?" Layla obliged, her voice low and soothing. But as the hours ticked by, something shifted. Amelia's fever spiked, her body racked with shivers. Layla's eyes narrowed. She glanced around the room, ensuring they were alone. From a hidden pocket in her dress, sewn in during her time on the run, she pulled a small pouch of herbs, dried roots and leaves, gathered in secret. She crushed them into a cup of water, murmuring words in a language Elias wouldn't recognize. "This will help, child," she whispered. "But it might shock them all." Downstairs, Elias paced in his study, a glass of whiskey in hand. He couldn't shake the feeling that Layla was more than she seemed. Little did he know, that night would change everything. The moon hung high over Hargrove Plantation, casting silvery light through the windows of Amelia's room. Layla worked quietly, steeping the herbs in hot water fetched from the kitchen. The aroma was faint, earthy, with a hint of sweetness, but it filled the air like a secret promise. Amelia watched her with wide eyes, too weak to question, but intrigued by this new caretaker who moved with such purpose. "Why do you have those?" the girl asked softly, her voice barely above a whisper. Layla smiled, dipping a cloth into the brew and wringing it out. "My mama taught me. Back where I come from, we heal with what the earth gives. Doctors don't know everything, little miss." Amelia nodded, trusting instinctively. The plantation doctor, old Dr. Wilkins, had poked and prodded her for months, prescribing leeches and bitter tonics that only made her sicker. Layla's touch was different, gentle, knowing. She helped the girl sip the herbal tea, holding the cup steady as Amelia swallowed. "It tastes funny," Amelia said, wrinkling her nose. "Funny's better than bad," Layla replied with a chuckle. "Now rest. Let it work." As the night deepened, the house slaves gathered in their quarters, sharing hushed stories under the cover of darkness. Bessie, the cook, stirred a pot of leftover stew for their supper. "That new girl, Layla, she's got spirit," she said to the others. "But spirit gets you in trouble here." Jeb, a young field hand who'd snuck in for a visit, shook his head. "I heard at the auction she ran once. From up north. Maybe even Freebond before they caught her." "You think she's planning something?" "Planning?" Bessie scoffed. "With Master watching? No, she's smart. She'll bide her time." Unbeknownst to them, Layla's past was a tapestry of hardship and resilience. Born on a small farm in Virginia to enslaved parents, she'd been taught reading in secret by a sympathetic tutor. When her family was sold apart, she fled at 18, making it as far as Philadelphia before being recaptured under the Fugitive Slave Act. The scars on her back from the whipping were hidden, but the fire in her soul burned bright. Now, here she was, using forbidden knowledge to save a child who, in another life, might have owned her. Down in the study, Elias couldn't sleep. He climbed the stairs quietly, peering into Amelia's room. The girl was dozing peacefully for the first time in weeks, her breathing even. Layla sat vigil, mending a torn dress by candlelight. "How is she?" he asked. "Better, I think," Layla said, not looking up. "The fever's breaking." Elias nodded, relieved but suspicious. "What did you give her?" "Just water and rest, master." A lie, but necessary. He lingered a moment, then retired to his room. But sleep evaded him. Memories flooded back of his wife, Sarah, dying in agony, begging him to care for their baby. He'd built his empire on the backs of others, justifying it as the way of the world. Yet seeing Amelia suffer chipped away at his resolve. By dawn, Amelia woke with color in her cheeks. "I feel hungry," she said, sitting up. Lila beamed. "That's the spirit. I'll fetch breakfast." Word spread quickly. Thorne, the overseer, grumbled to Elias over coffee. "That slave girl's got the child up already. Smells like hoodoo to me. You sure she's not poisoning her?" Elias waved him off. "Nonsense. Wilkins couldn't help. Maybe she knows something he don't." But Thorne's words planted a seed of doubt. He watched Lila closely as she went about her duties, bathing Amelia, reading to her from a warm Bible, even teaching her simple songs. The girl blossomed under her care, laughing for the first time in months. That afternoon, as Lila gathered wild herbs from the edge of the woods, under the pretense of fetching flowers, she overheard two field slaves talking. "Underground railroad's active again," one whispered. "Conductor coming through next full moon." Layla's heart raced. Freedom. But now, with Amelia depending on her, could she leave? As evening fell, Amelia begged for a story. Layla obliged, weaving a tale of a brave woman who outsmarted lions in the jungle, a metaphor for her own life. The girl hung on every word, her eyes sparkling. But in the shadows, Thorne lurked, his suspicions growing. That night, as Layla prepared another brew, he confronted her in the kitchen. "What you hidin', girl?" Layla met his gaze steadily. "Nothing you need worry about." He grabbed her arm, but she twisted free. "Touch me again, and you'll regret it." Thorne stormed off, vowing to expose her. Little did he know, the real shock was yet to come. The days blurred into a rhythm at Hargrove Plantation, with Layla becoming an indispensable part of the household. Amelia's health improved remarkably. She was out of bed now, toddling around the garden with Layla's help, picking flowers and chasing butterflies. The girls' laughter echoed through the halls, a sound Elias had almost forgotten. He found himself watching them from his study window, a mix of gratitude and confusion stirring in his chest. "Layla, how did you do it?" he asked one evening as she tucked Amelia in. "Patience and nature's gifts," she replied evasively. But Elias pressed, and for the first time, she shared a sliver of truth. "My people have ways, roots for fever, leaves for strength. It's not magic, it's knowledge." Elias pondered this. In a world where science was king among white folks, such primitive remedies were dismissed. Yet here was proof. "Teach me," he said impulsively. Layla hesitated. "Some things ain't for teaching to just anyone." Their conversations grew longer, late into the nights. Elias spoke of his regrets, the cruelty of the system he upheld. Layla listened, her guard slowly lowering. "Why not free us all then?" she challenged one night. He sighed. "It's not that simple. Debts, society. But maybe for you and Amelia's sake, I could." Meanwhile, Thorne's paranoia festered. He rifled through Layla's cabin, finding the herb pouch. "Witchcraft," he muttered, pocketing a sample to show Elias. In the fields, rumors of escape swirled. Jeb approached Layla discreetly. "The train's leaving soon. You in?" Layla glanced at the big house. "Not without the child. She's innocent in all this." Jeb's eyes widened. "You crazy? Stealin' the master's daughter?" "Not stealin'. Savin'." As the full moon approached, tension built. Amelia had a relapse, a mild one, but enough to worry. Layla prepared her strongest remedy, a potent 1009 that required chanting under her breath. Unbeknownst to her, Thorne spied from the doorway. That night, as Layla administered the dose, Amelia convulsed briefly, then calmed, her fever vanishing. But Thorne burst in, accusing her of sorcery. "I saw you. Mumbo-jumbo and poisons." Elias rushed in, alarmed. "What's this?" Thorne thrust the herbs forward. "She's bewitching the girl." Layla stood tall. "I'm healing her, fools. Your doctors failed. I succeeded." A standoff ensued. Elias, Thorne, ordered Layla confined to her cabin while he investigated. But as he examined the herbs, recognition dawned, similar to ones his wife had used from an old slave healer. In the darkness, Layla plotted. Freedom called, but so did her bond with Amelia. The plantation lay shrouded in midnight hush, the only sounds the rustle of leaves and distant hoot of owls. Layla paced her cabin, the door locked from outside by Thorne's orders. Elias had promised a decision by morning, but she couldn't wait. The Underground Railroad conductor, a shadowy figure known as Moses, would pass through at dawn. If she missed this chance, it might be years before another. From her hidden stash, she retrieved a small knife, pilfered from the kitchen weeks ago. With careful precision, she pried at the window bars, loosening them just enough. Her heart pounded, freedom for herself. But what about Amelia? The girl had become like a daughter, her innocence a stark contrast to the brutality around them. Slipping out into the night, Layla crept to the big house. The back door was unlocked, as Bessie often left it for late-night chores. Up the stairs she went, silent as a ghost. Amelia's room was dimly lit by a moonbeam. The girl slept soundly, her chest rising and falling peacefully. "Little one," Layla whispered, shaking her gently. "Wake up. We're going on an adventure." Amelia rubbed her eyes. "Layla? Is it morning?" "No. Hush now." Quiet as a mouse. Bundling the girl in a blanket, Layla carried her down the stairs. But as they reached the kitchen, a floorboard creaked. Thorne emerged from the shadows, lantern in hand. "Going somewhere, witch?" Layla set Amelia down, knife flashing. "Stay back! This ain't your fight." Thorne lunged, but Layla dodged, slashing his arm. He bellowed, alerting the house. Elias burst in, pistol drawn. "What in God's name?" "She's stealing the child," Thorne yelled, clutching his wound. Elias's face paled. "Layla? Why?" "Because she deserves better," Layla said fiercely. "This place is poison. I'm taking her north, to freedom, for both of us." Amelia clung to Layla. "Papa, she's my friend. Don't hurt her." The shock hit Elias like a thunderbolt. His world cracked. The slave he'd bought was defying him, yet his daughter defended her. In the chaos, slaves gathered outside, drawn by the noise. Jeb stepped forward. "Let her go, master." "She's right." Elias lowered his gun, tears in his eyes. "Go!" "But know this changes everything." Layla nodded, scooping Amelia up. They vanished into the night, the plantation in uproar. Dawn broke as Layla and Amelia fled through the woods, guided by Moses, a tall, scarred man with a lantern. "Keep moving," he urged. "Hounds'll be on us soon." Back at the plantation, Elias sat stunned. Thorne raged, demanding a posse. "We can't let her take the girl." But Elias waved him off. "No, let them go." Thorne's eyes narrowed. "You gone soft?" "Perhaps," Elias admitted. "Or finally seen the light." Word spread, the master refusing to chase a runaway. Slaves whispered of hope. Thorne, furious, gathered a few loyal men and set out anyway, defying orders. Layla and Amelia reached a safe house by noon, hidden in a barn. The girl was excited but scared. "Will Papa be mad?" "He loves you," Layla assured. "This is for your future." But hounds bayed in the distance. Thorne was closing in. Moses scouted. "We fight or run." They ran, crossing streams to lose the scent. At a river, Thorne caught up. "Give up the girl." Layla stood defiant, knife ready. A skirmish ensued. Moses felled one man. Layla wounded another. Thorne aimed his rifle, but a shot rang out from behind. Elias appeared, having followed. "Stand down, Thorne." "You traitor!" Thorne snarled, turning on him. In the struggle, Thorne fell, wounded. Elias approached Layla. "Take her north. I'll follow when I can. Free the others too." Tears flowed. Amelia hugged her father. "Come with us, Papa." "I will, darling." "Soon." They parted, Layla and Amelia pressing on to freedom. Months later, in Philadelphia, Layla, now free, thanks to abolitionists, worked as a healer, her clinic bustling. Amelia thrived, attending school, her health perfect. Elias arrived one day, papers in hand. He'd sold the plantation, freed his slaves, and moved north. I couldn't stay in that world. Reunited, they built a new life. Lila and Elias married in time, a union of equals. Amelia grew strong, inspired by her mama, Lila's courage. The shocking night had sparked a revolution in one man's heart, rippling outward. Freedom wasn't just escape, it was transformation. And so, the story ended, but the legacy endured.